So, wow, shock jock and radio personality Alex Jones just called for the invasion of Venezuela. Jason Berman sent me this video last night. He's saying that the gloves are coming off. I haven't seen this video, but Jason, let's just get right into it because I was kind of speechless at the headline here by itself.
Now, I just want to preface this. Now, I've watched this thing 3 times, all right? I got nothing else to say. We're going to break this down point by point. I think that we're going to play a good 8-9 minute segment because it's important. Now, I want everybody to take a look at these hairs. This is not the hair of a young man. I know that sometimes it looks a little blacker when it's wet or I have a hat on or something like that. I'm an old guy. So when I tell you that I am disturbed and disgusted that InfoWars is now promoting a full-on physical invasion of Venezuela, I'm sorry. That's what this is about. This video is not about pettiness. It's not going to get into the past, even though there's an outright attack, I believe, against Luke and I on the very onset of this broadcast. But the bottom line here is that InfoWars is a huge outlet that reaches millions of people, and B, it is now calling for not the withdrawal of our troops from the numerous wars that have been out there now almost 20 years, which is not okay, by the way, which is not okay. But let's... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Jason, forget the petty personal stuff. I mean, let's just speak on the merits alone here, because there's a lot to unravel, to say the least, about this latest video. And let's just get right into it, man.
Viewing and listening. All right, I'm going to go to Thomas, Jim, John, and many others here. Former and current active duty, Border Patrol, witnesses on the border. That's who we're opening the phones up for, 877-789-2539. Let me just say this. I've had old friends, old journalists, people that I've known, people that I basically started their careers, make cheap shots at me because if you make cheap shots on YouTube, they let you operate.
And we're going to stop it there. And we're going to stop it there.
All of that, Jason, all of that entire statement, absolutely untrue. Oh, my God. I mean, literally, people on YouTube are going to come to us and allowing us to operate because we're doing cheap shots. I mean, Jason, that's absolutely not true. We even defended Alex Jones when he was attacked viciously and incorrectly by, of course, the mainstream media on our own channel. But when Alex Jones does something crazy, like say he talks to QAnon or misinform people or call for war or call for martial law, which was the big one. I think the martial law video a few months ago, even I think a few years ago, when he called for martial law, I made a specific video about that, specifically talking about that, because how can you go from making a movie, martial law, 9/11, the road to tyranny, to saying we need to have martial law to lock up the liberals? I mean, absolutely insane. Jason, what's your take?
No, absolutely, and that's the thing. We're doing this on merit. I'm never going to come to the audience and say, hey, God or Jesus told me to destroy someone, because it didn't happen. It's imagination land. I'm never going to tell you that I talked to an imaginary figure, Q. All right? What I'm going to do is, if I have evidence, I'm going to present the evidence of the hoax, which I did. I never came out and said, I've got these sources underground. Let me tell you right now, folks, it's going down, and they're going down, and we're taking them with us. Hillary for prison. I'm not selling you nonsense, because I'm not selling you anything at all. I'm telling you what is in my heart and is in my head, and the evidence provides. And that's why what we're about to get to, you just talked about martial law. Well, that's the next thing. That's the next thing he brings up, is that people took cheap shots at him when he called for martial law, and he endorsed, he endorsed Rex 84, a plan he must have played on his show 200 to 300 times at least, where people were talking about, and then the crazy thing about Rex 84, which came in under a pre-neocon regime, the Rumsfelds of the world, the Cheneys of the world, with the continuity of government program, folks. There's actually a section in a video I did called Fabled Enemies. You can watch it for free. Jones produced it, where these neocons put this together. Who's he blame it on? The left. We'll get to that later. He can't even say Bush or Cheney's name in this tirade, dude.
Yeah, Jason, it's important to make the distinction here. Like, our virtues, our morals haven't changed. We never call for martial law. We never call for war. We never call for the death of another human being. And we never shill along party lines for fame or money. We don't change our basic principles of what we stand on. And we never did because we wanted attention, because we're playing for a gang side. We never shilled and lied to push a certain idea or a certain politician or certain overlord that have power over you. So that's a very important distinction. We're being honest here. Someone else is not. And again, forget the petty stuff, taking credit, you doing loose change and all this. Forget the petty stuff. Let's just get into the meat and potatoes here of this video, because it gets crazier.
The only way you're allowed to talk about Alex Jones is if it's negative. And they say, oh, my God, Alex Jones supports martial law. Alex Jones supports Rex 84. Well, there's an old saying, and it's called you live, you learn. And
you certainly do. You live and you learn as you watch somebody who mentored you in talk radio, in broadcasting, and putting a mic in front of you, that they'll say anything. They'll say anything that they think will get views, clicks, more power. They'll put anybody on and endorse them. Guys, Roger Stone is not the best person out there. Doesn't mean he shouldn't be talked to or have his own platform. Again, I'm not here to tell you to deplatform Jones. I'd like to see them reinstated on YouTube, reinstated on Facebook. That's fine. But don't gaslight and
Jason,
lie.
we made many videos. We made many videos being like, hey, stop deplatforming people. We don't agree with Alex Jones, but he should never be deplatformed. Just a couple days ago, they were lying about him posting something that wasn't true, and we were like, hey, the media is lying about him. We don't agree with him, but again, this is the truth matters here, all right? The truth, being honest, matters, especially when you're a news organization and you have viewers that depend on you and trust you. You can't lie for fame and power and for your leader. Again, that's a big distinction that I want to make here. Let's just keep going.
I learned how the leftists were lying about Ronald Reagan.
Oh, Reagan.
And it didn't mean that Ronald Reagan was perfect. But since I learned about the Weatherman and read some of the declassified files.
Let me just stop before he gets way into the Weatherman. Reagan wasn't perfect. No, Reagan was a puppet of George H.W. Bush, especially after he got shot just, a little over a couple months into his presidency, maybe not even 2. Hey, but Jones produced that movie too. It's called Invisible Empire. He does not mention George H.W. Bush or his son this entire time. Let's keep going.
Only came out a few years ago, and talked to the folks that infiltrated their groups, like Larry Grafwald, who was a great patriot. I confirmed that there was a Democrat plan to collapse Mexico and Central America into southern North America.
He confirmed it was a Democrat plan. Let's just continue. He's confirmed that, from the sources that he confirmed it with. Kind of like those sources that he confirmed it with in all his Sandy Hook deposition, if you saw that 3.5-hour circus.
Mexico. And to bring in martial law through a migrant crisis.
Oh, migrant crisis.
And that the Democrats would then activate migrant leaders trained in these UN camps to burn down the U.S.
Burn down the U.S. UN camps, Democrats. Not about left or right, folks. Now, the United Nations is something we can talk about. However, they don't have any teeth to come in and burn down the United States. That's not what they're there for. But let's continue with the nonsense, please. I encourage.
Now, that was in the 1980s. And the left always attacked it, and I would see it on PBS and things and go, wow, that is terrible that they planned martial law and Oliver North got told to shut up or
your hero.
The senator said don't talk about it in the congressional hearing and all the rest of it. And I was always Rex 84 bad. And then you pull back and they're running the exact op, and you've got Beto O'Rourke and you've got Jorge Ramos saying it's over, the country's gone, there are no borders, we're Latin America, and the UN's running the refugee camps for the invasion. It was about 6 months ago. I went, wait a minute. Remember, I'm Mr. FEMA camp, which Obama wanted a national emergency in camps for conservatives. Hillary talked about it.
Oh, remember? Obama and Hillary, not George Bush.
So there's bad camps. We want due process. But if people hit you with 20 million people and there's nowhere to keep them, you got to keep them in a facility and ship them back, or you're done. So they've already overwhelmed the facilities and the judges in due process. So they put you into martial law artificially. And then Reagan's plan was Well, have to use military bases to hold up to 10 million people because that was the Democrat plan. Originally created at Cornell by Bill Ayers, who was Obama's mentor. You can't make this stuff up.
Let's stop it there. Yes, you can make this stuff up, Alex, and you are making this stuff up. Let's just peel it back for a second. If anybody's interested, Alex Jones interviewed Bill Ayers for 40 minutes. In 2015, it is still available online. It's only got 29 views. Hopefully you can get there before it gets taken down after watching this video. Bill Ayers completely eviscerated him. He made him look like a child. And Alex's arguments where he was talking about him being Obama's mentor, Bill Ayers, I met the guy maybe 2 or 3 times. He talks about his relationship with Obama. He talks about his relationship with the Weathermen that are so devious and apparently after being disbanded over 30 years ago still have some kind of insane power where the leftists are coming to get us. That's going to lead to us having to invade Venezuela. Don't worry, we're going to get there, folks.
Yeah, Jason, it's interesting to see him just omit Dick Cheney and George W. Bush from this entire scenario. Again, showing you he's on the Republican, right-wing, conservative establishment side right now where you can't criticize your own party. Everything Obama did, horrible. Now Reagan, Rex 84. What? I mean, if people don't know, just so you guys understand here, Rex 84 is short for Readiness Exercise that happened in 1984. It was classified as a scenario and drill by the United States federal government to detain large numbers of U.S. citizens deemed to be national security threats in the event that a president would declare a state of national emergency. That's what Rex 84 is, just for the record. Let's keep it going.
They did this to Europe, too, just now, the last 10 years. So these dogs don't learn new tricks because these tricks work. So Reagan and the Pentagon got ready, and you better believe they got plans now. But they're filled with SJWs at the command level.
Oh, they're filled with SJWs at the command level. See, the military is the most awake people out there, folks, as I'm going to tell you, but they're filled with SJWs at the command level. The jackassery, the ass clownery that I'm listening to, that's eventually going to lead to him promoting taking human lives and sending our military there to do it. It's unacceptable. I'm not going to sit here and play nice.
Facts don't matter. We're going to manipulate all of it just to make sure it fits the scenario that he's trying to sell to you. Again, a lot of fear-mongering, which you got to be aware of. But again, you look at the support, especially during the presidential elections when Ron Paul was running. Most of the military, Ron Paul got more support from the military than any other presidential candidate out there, and he was the most anti-war out there. So it's interesting to see right now Alex Jones being pro-war and saying down that the military is filled with SJWs. Complete just 180-degree turn. Let's go.
And so I came on air with courage.
With courage, he came on air.
And said Rex 84 was a good plan.
Oh!
And I was conned by the left.
Ooh. Oh.
And man, did people have a heyday with that.
Yep.
Mr. Anti-FEMA camp now supports the FEMA camps.
Yep.
I'm not for a FEMA camp or against a FEMA camp. If an asteroid hits the Atlantic Ocean with a power of 1,000 hydrogen bombs, and we've got 5 years of nuclear winter and everybody's starving to death, people are going to be in emergency facilities. Most people are going to die. A camp is a camp, like a gun is a gun or a truck is a truck. The point is, who's creating the crisis and why are they doing it? If a bioweapon gets released, you're going to see this stuff happen. That's why it's in place.
Let's stop.
Just stop it. Jason, putting people in camps by government is not okay. Like Rex 84, it's literally the blueprint for martial law in America. That's not okay. And then saying that there's going to be like biological what? You're just making stuff up to try to justify your delusions, and there's no justifying government putting people in camps. That is bad. I don't know what else to say.
Listen,
wow,
they're the same talking points.
I didn't see this part, but
yeah, they're the same talking points that were out there when these things were being promoted. An asteroid. So now we're talking about a friggin' Bruce Willis movie. Okay, whatever. Now, secondly, then he goes on to bioweapons. Well, who would release a bioweapon according to Alex Jones at any point of his career other than the last 3 years? Who would it be? The government. All right, and honestly, a lot of, you look at the anthrax attacks and all that other stuff. Where does it go back to? Government facilities. So who would have these bioweapons? All right, listen, he's about to show you the camps now. I want to be very clear here. all right? Because he has a ballistic, the camps are there, the camps exist. They were turning things like the Superdome into camps during Katrina. There are makeshift camps everywhere where the military goes, and then that becomes a makeshift camps for people that need to get away from their homes and stuff like that. We've never had a military roundup in this country, but there have been drills based on that and readiness and preparedness, which has worried people. So I don't think that we need to be giving FEMA any more powers, and I think that Rex 84 is bad, and that the continuity of government is beyond the 3 branches of government, which have oversight, which is dangerous. It's very simple. It's very simple. But right now he's telling you, again, he's buying so hard into this left-right paradigm, and then he wants to, again, jerk that away, but there's goddamn so many SJWs at the command level. Let's just keep playing.
I didn't like it because I had emergency managers and people inside the military tell me that Obama, before that Clinton, was planning martial law, and I got the documents.
Obama and Clinton before him. The 8 years under Bush didn't exist, okay? They didn't exist at all. It was Clinton and Obama.
Yeah.
Clinton and Obama. Think about that. And by the way, he's about to tell you some nonsense about how he'd be taping people and they tell him to shut the cameras off and he'd hand them the documents. Gaslighting 101. About probably 4 to 6% of that is true. There are people within the government that absolutely gave Alex Jones documents, whether it would be in the mail, in person, or digitally. That happened. But the stories he tells are the stories of a guy that went fishing, caught a little minnow, and says, I gotta tell you, I got myself a 48-pound shark whale. I know you didn't know that shark whales existed, but I promise you they do, and they're lean and mean. I had a good heart. I let it go. I didn't take any pictures, but I promise you there was a shark whale. Let's continue.
And I used to be screaming and yelling at the FBI how they were all traitors until we'd be at an illegal Army checkpoint. The Army didn't like what they were doing, training to take guns from citizens on I-35. I'm like, you scumbag FBI, you filthy military traitors to America. All of a sudden they're like, turn your camera off for a minute. Here's the documents. We're on your side. We don't like this either. And they're like, all right. The military and the police are more awake than anybody, folks. They don't like this crap. And then the Black Lives Matter, Kill the Cops movement starts up. And they
at the command level, Luke. At the command level.
Let's keep going.
Here are the camps.
Wanted to kill the cops to make them capitulate to the globalists. So they would go along with the left taking control of law enforcement. So they could then put conservatives in the FEMA camps. The damn camps are there. So I'm just saying, you're going to let people shove their kids through concertina wire, barbed wire, and then get here by the millions and collapse the whole country? Or are we going to put them in facilities and ship their asses back? But that's not even what I want. Then I'm going to go to your calls.
Oh, what do you want?
And I'm going to explain this very, very, very calmly and very coolly.
Oh, are you?
We have to have a coalition with Brazil and with Colombia.
Wait, a coalition? Hey, remember we were going into Iraq with that coalition of the willing? The coalition of the willing I heard about all the time. All right, but now we need a coalition. No big deal. Colombia and Brazil. What else do we need, Alex?
Who are already about to go to war with Venezuela. It's already collapsed. Millions are flooding in every few months to their countries. There's firefights, you name it. It's all over the news now down there. To stabilize, and Maduro has to be removed. The UN isn't going to help. They're behind it, orchestrating the whole damn thing. And we have to get them out and do it because they're running it as the base to collapse into the U.S. in this program, just like the UN did the Arab Spring with Obama to collapse the Middle East into Europe. So I don't want to go down there for regime change.
Pause it there. That's absolutely not true. There are a bunch of Venezuelan migrants. We've documented them in Colombia. We talked about even the plan that Colombia and Brazil had months ago, talking about a possible invasion of Venezuela, but it's absolutely insane that you're talking about a crisis in Venezuela that's going to create a migrant. People can't walk across from Colombia or Venezuela into Panama. That's number one. Most of the people estimate 3 million people have escaped Venezuela. They went to Brazil and Colombia predominantly. Absolutely total misnomers. You're not going to have a kind of European-like situation because of Venezuela. Venezuela has already collapsed long time ago, which, again, he mentioned, but you're not going to stabilize it when you attack it militaristically. And there's so many things to say about the sanctions. There's so many things. It's just totally backwards, asinine justification. As you just said earlier, total remnants of the Iraq war with the same very similar talking points. Stabilizing. No, there's no stabilizing when you bomb and kill people and you attack them, which is essentially what you're calling here for. Let's keep playing it.
Like the other times and all the rest of it, to get the damn oil. We have to go down there to stabilize that country because it's in northern South America and is already falling into our country. I don't trust the neocons and not sabotage it to blame Trump. I don't even like the idea, but it's way better than what we already have. Millions coming our way, collapsed border, babies being shoved through barbed wire because their countries have collapsed. We can't let the whole South collapse into bedlam and insanity and then engulf us with the Democrats and our open society opening the door in a Weatherman communist UN plan.
The Democrats in a Weatherman communist UN plan. Wait for it.
From the 1970s.
Oh, from the 70s.
It has to be stopped now.
Pause it, Jason. Again, the millions of people, they're not coming from Venezuela. The millions of people are coming from Nicaragua. They're coming from Honduras. They're coming from Central America, not South America. You dummy. These stupid. What's happening in Venezuela is not creating the border crisis that we're having in Tijuana, which, by the way, I was there also on the ground. I was also there in Venezuela. And what you're saying is absolute lunacy, trying to justify somehow a war when there is no justification for war or trying to hurt or kill another human being. It's crazy. You know what is creating the humanitarian crisis? You know, things like Iran-Contra, things like the United States under Reagan financing, sabotaging governments, democratically elected government, financing cartels, financing death squads in Latin America, which your right-wing heroes did, and created a bloody situation that has devastated those countries. And right now, the people of Venezuela, which, by the way, are very intelligent people, understand the history of U.S. intervention and of U.S. covertly going into Latin America and corrupting governments, supporting despotic regimes, importing guns, exporting cocaine. That's all CIA stuff. We all know about that. That's what really devastated Latin America, as well as mismanagement of policies, which is true in Venezuela, is true in some of those Latin American countries as well. There's two truths here, right? But you can't go running with one extreme to try to justify a war. It's absolutely asinine and just insane and based on no facts at all. The people of Venezuela, smart, intelligent people, know the history, and that's why they're so against U.S. intervention. That's why many of them still do support Monero, because they see the answer, and they see the answer because of the history of the U.S. relations with Latin American countries throughout the last few decades, which were horrible, which were all about control. If Venezuela really is the right reason to save people against immigrants, come on, that's absolute bull crap. There's no humanitarian purpose here. If it was, we would have never been doing what we're doing to Yemen. We would have been talking about a whole many different other issues, so many different other countries who are struggling. But no, this is a pure geopolitical, neoconservative main talking point that is not justified by any facts or rationale. The Venezuelan government is corrupt. I've been there. I saw it. It's a horrible thing, but it's being propped up by not only the sanctions the United States is giving Venezuela, but also the opposition, which is only empowering someone that I disagree with, someone that I dislike, someone that I think is creating a horrible, horrendous situation. But one of the reasons for my analysis that he is still in power is because of the direct U.S. response to it. Sorry, I just had to rant and rave here, but holy cow, Jason, let's just keep going, or unless you have something to say it.
Nope, let's keep going.
And there you have it. And, of course, the Russians and the Chinese are there. The Chinese already put in a social score there. They're running the show. The Russians want their interest because they've sold a bunch of weapons to them and gold and a bunch of issues. And I'm not a Russophile. If we were pumping into the Russian border millions of people, Russia would have the right to go to war with us. So I'm going to tell Russia, I'm against going to war with you. I want you to be successful. Have your pipelines. Do what you want. And fight the jihadis. But get the hell out of there. Because I'm telling you, the only move to make here pretty soon is to go in there and kill everybody.
Oh!
And I'm talking about the military bases and the leadership of that damn government. Because that's the problem. Cut it off at the head.
There it is right there. Cut it off at the head. Kill everybody The military bases and the leaders in power cut it off at the head. How many times? Bush, Rumsfeld, Cheney. We're going to cut it off at the head. We got to cut it off at the head. We got to cut this off at that. We're going to have a coalition of the willing, and we're going to go cut it off at the head.
He literally became Bill O'Reilly. I'm looking at some of the comments here. Jason, you told me that they took this video down. They re-uploaded it now. But I'm reading some of the comments here, and people are like, did you forget we're supposed to be non-interventionalists? That's one of the comments here. Another person, 25 years of the so-called liberty movement down the toilet. People are disappointed, and they should be, because, again, what's happening in Venezuela is not creating the migrant crisis on the Mexican-U.S. border. That's absolutely mistruth. What's causing it is what Alex Jones is calling for, and that's historically called for. Go ahead, Jason.
Cut off Soros and the State Department funding. Again, you want to blame the Russians. Our government's the #1 funder of this. The Russia's not the problem. I'm saying Russia better get the hell out of it. And the Chi-Coms, it's time to bloody their nose. Maduro is a monster. He's arresting all the political opposition. He's a pig. He's a criminal. They have 1,000 people dying a day down there from starvation. You say, well, that's not our thing to get involved in. I agree. It was overseas. It's on our border. It's a chain reaction on our border. And I'm not going to sit here and like a wimp and play games with this whole thing. Because as I got older, I learned the pieces of this whole puzzle. And they're running their move on us. This is the takedown of the country, folks. And we either act and overthrow the Mexican president, or we've got to invade.
And he just also right there at the very end, act and overthrow the Mexican president on top, or invade. Now, that was probably, a little Freudian slip. I'll just invade Mexico, folks. Let me tell you, I don't want war, but we got to cut them off at the head and kill everybody. I'm done. I'm telling you right now.
Jason, someone should give him a geography lesson, first of all. Go ahead.
Chain reaction on the border. I'm done. This is it, guys. Listen. I don't really have anything else to say. We've probably ranted for close to a half an hour here because this really needed to get broken down. I'm an anti-war guy unless there's really some aggression. There's really a reason to go in some other country. Venezuela ain't it. Syria ain't it. Afghanistan ain't it. Iraq ain't it. And we ain't out of those countries yet.
Yeah.
And so
I covered, I mean, I personally covered the horrors of Venezuela, and I totally agree with the mismanagement, the corruption, and I called it out personally on the ground. But war and killing other people is not the answer. The gloves are coming off here because, to me, it's either you believe in freedom and liberty or you believe in war and slavery. And if you believe in a big Lord and Savior sugar daddy doing everything for you and you're justifying killing other people for that Lord and Savior based off false pretenses, sorry, gloves are off. You're full of crap. You need to be called out. Your establishment shilling is extremely, extremely disappointing. And it needs to be called out. I mean, we just watched this video live. I don't know what else is there to say, Jason. Yeah.
We're doing 4 videos a week. We're honest. I hope you guys watch our stuff. 4 videos a week. I'm sorry, 4 videos a day. 4 videos a day. So we do 3 on the backup, 1 on the main. Pulse change, we are change. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring that bell so you get the notifications. And folks, listen. There's alternatives to the so-called alternative media out there that aren't all about, hiring a bunch of people and selling you supplements. I'm not trying to sell you anything but honesty. And I don't know what else to say. It makes me kind of cry because I think there was a time where this man was doing a lot better work. I think that, again, I'm not calling for anyone to be deplatformed. I'm glad there's another voice out there. But to me, I mean, InfoWars is no different than a hybrid now of like Breitbart and Fox News, which I have my problems with. And it makes me
not even the good aspects of Fox News, the bad aspects of Fox News.
Yeah, the bad ones. Absolutely. So, guys, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. But most importantly, get out there, do your thing, and be the change you want to see in the world.